I am truly honored to be standing before you today at one of the jewels of Illinois' higher education system. And I want to thank President McGadney and the entire graduating class of 2025 for your very, very kind invitation to join you today. I want to acknowledge my dear friend and fellow honorary degree recipient, Theaster Gates. I also want to offer a heartfelt congratulations to Mary Kent Knight, to thank her for her tremendous philanthropy. She is a beloved member of this Knox College community. Thank you very much. Now, finally, I want to thank my friend, your Illinois Senate President, Don Harmon, a proud Knox College graduate who, now he didn't say outright that my legislative agenda would be in peril if I didn't accept your invitation to speak today, but I can read between the lines as well as anybody. On a serious note, every Knox College graduate should take pride in President Don Harmon's Prairie Fire leadership of this state. Thank you for everything that you've done, Don. Now, this is the second time that I've had the opportunity to deliver a commencement speech as governor. The first time was at Northwestern 2 years ago. I wrote a whole speech about how everything you needed to know in life could be found in old episodes of The Office. And just before I was set to deliver the speech, I found out, well, that Steve Carell, the star of The Office, was going to attend the commencement because his daughter was graduating from Northwestern that day. I honestly did not know that. That was extraordinarily nerve-wracking. So I thought maybe for my second commencement speech here, I could come and find a situation that was a little less pressure-filled. But then I found out that Knox College hosts graduation on the site of one of the most storied episodes in perhaps one of the most famous oratory battles of all time. And at an institution where the most popular undergraduate degree is creative writing. So now I'm nervous. I'm just hoping your professors don't decide to grade me afterward. So all of that makes this honor a little bit like being the host at the Oscars, which is simply an enormous chance to fail spectacularly. The problem with a commencement speech is that everyone in the audience already knows how it ends. We've seen graduation speeches before. Everything has already been done. Everything that could be said has been said by someone, somewhere, often delivered in the most boring possible fashion. And outside, in the sun, wearing a robe, and usually a funny little hat. I will confess, though, that as a dad, I love giving commencement speeches because it gives me an opportunity to do what dads love to do most, dispense advice to a completely captive audience. So I thought I would start there with some solid dad advice. It is, after all, the most valuable kind of advice that you'll get, advice that you can actually really use in life. Advice that takes the complexities of the modern world and boils them down to the most important things. So first piece of advice. You don't need to subscribe to every single streaming service. You don't. Frankly, if you have Netflix and Apple Plus and whatever HBO is calling itself now, you are mostly covered. If you want to mix in a little Hulu or Disney Plus, I'm not going to fight you on that. But I have found that if you have access to at least one good post-apocalyptic drama, plus one hilarious but heartwarming comedy, and either one of the two documentaries about the Fire Festival, all your entertainment needs will be met. Second piece of advice, and this is serious. please turn off all the lights when you leave a room. But speaking on behalf of all dads, we have moved into an era of egregious lighting. And frankly, it's killing us fathers. You don't need an overhead light, a table lamp, and a ring light all shining on you for a social media post. Maybe maintain a little mystery, would you? Remember that it's always darkest before the dawn, and dawn comes with natural light, so there's no need to run up the electricity bill. Third, we need you to put air in your tires. I know that when that little tire gauge comes on your dashboard, you view it in the same way that Elon Musk views the United States Constitution, as a mere suggestion. But if you're not putting air in your tires before the winter, then you are going to end up just like Elon, with a car that no one wants to drive. Now, I'm somewhat inclined to end this speech right there, because frankly, if you take my dad advice and budget your streaming services and turn off the lights and put air in your tires, you will save money, you'll preserve the environment, and you'll get everywhere you need to go. I'm not sure I can offer any better advice than that. But you spent a lot of time and money to get here, so I understand that my obligations as your commencement speaker must extend to some perhaps more sage advice. After all, we are sending you out into the world that is a little bit crazier, in fact, vastly crazier than it has been at any time that any of us can remember. And I'm truly sorry for that. But sometime after the Chicago Cubs won the first World Series in 108 years, the one that they won in 2016, things on this... Oh, good, we have some Cubs fans here. But sometime just after that, we threw the timeline off in the multiverse. And I'm not sure we have ever gotten it back. It makes dispensing good advice especially hard. When the ground is shifting beneath you, so are the guardrails that are used to keep us stable and the perspective that we rely on to understand the world around us. When you can't hold on to a guardrail and you can't trust your perspective, then you have to seek truth that predates the current fashion. So that's what I'm going to endeavor to do today, dispense some unfashionable truth. Let's start with this. The most critical thing that I've learned in my 60 years on this planet and my 6 years as governor is that there's almost nothing more important in life than showing up. Show up for your nephew's birthday party and your cousin's wedding. Show up to the dance recitals of your second nieces and the talent shows of your best friend's son. When someone you love gets an award, even if it's for best community recycler or most prolific gardener, be in the front row cheering them on. Never cancel plans on an old friend. Always leave a meeting with your boss if your grandmother is calling. And never ever tell a child you are going to be somewhere that you don't intend to be. And show up to the funerals, all of them. I know you will be at memorials of the people that you love. That's as much for yourself as it is for your family. But the question you should ask when someone dies is, did someone I love them? Does someone who has shown me kindness in the world care that this person is gone? Go to those funerals. Your distant great aunt, your coworker's mom, your neighbor's son. When you're governor, you attend countless funerals for strangers. Early in my first term, an Illinois state trooper died in a terrible traffic accident. He left behind a wife and 2 young children. I didn't know the officer at all, but the family asked if I would deliver a eulogy at the funeral, and of course I said yes. I understood that the request was not about me, but instead about the office that I represent, about honoring the trooper's service to his state and to this country. It's hard to write a eulogy for someone that you don't know, but I realized that there was something I did know about. I also lost a parent to a car crash when I was very young, and I knew what the intense shock and despair was like. And I also knew that grief is like standing in a room with a gigantic balloon, one that hurts every time you touch it. But over time, the balloon loses air. Moving, breathing gets easier until eventually you go long days where you never touch the balloon at all. I knew I could look the state trooper's family in the eye on the most terrible days of their lives and offer them something that I knew I could give. Hope that one day the memory of their loved one's life would land with joy, more powerfully than the pain of their death. In a world where TikTok and Instagram tells you to be selfish with your schedule, I'm telling you, be generous. Be generous with your time. Showing up is a unique and meaningful thing that only you can do. Showing up is an important gift that you can give. It's a gift that tells someone you love, there is nothing more important to me right now than being here with you. Don't believe me? Let me prove it to you. So I want to ask all the graduates today to please stand up and turn around or look around at the rest of the audience. Please stand up. Go ahead, you have to do it because I'm your commencement speaker and you have to do everything I say. Now I want you to look out at this crowd and see all the people who showed up for you, all the parents and grandparents and siblings and aunts and uncles and friends. Think about how far they drove or flew to be here. Think about the hours that they're willing to sit and listen to people like me just to see you walk across a stage and grab a diploma. Okay, you can sit down now. Now think about all the times that these people showed up for you over the years. Think about the baseball games and the soccer matches and the band practices and the high school plays. Think about the times your mother ran to the store past 9 p.m. because you forgot to tell her about your solar system diorama due the next day. Think about your dad searching into the far reaches of his brain to try and remember trigonometry. I hate to break it to you, but your magic act in the middle school talent show was not as captivating as they made it seem. But they were there. Most often, well, it seemed easy to them and the right thing for them to be there. They showed up for you. Because showing up is a great act of love. Maybe the best act of love. It's become increasingly rare in this world, which makes it even more special. And long after everything else in your life falls away, you will remember the times people showed up for you. Trust me. Now, I know your hands are probably itching to grab your diploma today, and I'm sure graduating from a renowned institution of higher learning has you feeling pretty good about your handle on the world. Maybe you have a little more confidence in your step today than there was yesterday. I want you to have confidence, but I also want you to have doubt. The truth is, nowadays, people have become far too certain of what they know and far too unwilling to admit to what they don't know. I wish I had a list of all the things that I was absolutely certain of since I was elected governor. In 2019, I was completely certain that the hardest challenge that I would face was passing a balanced budget for a state that hadn't done that for a quarter century. In early 2020, I was pretty sure the strange flu that was going around would pass out of the news as quickly as it came into it. In 2024, I was certain that Joe Biden was going to be the Democratic nominee for president. In a world like the one we live in today, we need confidence just to get up every day, put your pants on, go out and greet the uncertainty that awaits us. But we need doubt to survive in it. Because doubt makes us curious. Doubt keeps us humble. Doubt makes us seek when it would be so much easier just to sit idle. Doubt prompts us to ask good questions. Questions like, am I looking at all the facts or just the ones I want to see? Should I rely solely on nervous first impressions, or should I give a second date a chance? Should I trust everything that my uncle posts on Facebook? Is it a good idea to accept a jumbo jet from a foreign country that would very much like to spy on us? And one thing I can tell you with absolute certainty is that when I go into a room as the governor of the fifth largest state in the country, it's not the person who speaks with absolute assuredness from beginning to end who impresses me the most. It's the person who has the capacity to change their opinion based on new information. All our great innovations in technology and thinking, all the imagination that drove us from the ocean to the land, to the cave, to the farm, to the city, all our capacity for kindness and empathy is found in the space between doubt and confidence. If you can summon the bravery to find that balance, then you will unlock the potential to earn your place in posterity. I had a few invitations to deliver commencement speeches this year, but I wanted to come to Knox College because no place in America feels more suitable to this moment in history. After all, this college was established in 1837 in rural Illinois on the idea that slavery should be opposed in all its forms, physical, spiritual, intellectual, and the notion that all people, regardless of race, sex, or means, have the right to an education. Ignore the coastal institutions who love to brag about their pedigree and history. You will hold a diploma from a college that outshines them in a heritage that is exceedingly rare, a community built around the concept that our lives should be lived every day with courage. When we tell the stories of history, we often excuse the atrocities of our ancestors by suggesting that they were merely acting on what was popular at that time. Because we understand in our core, whether we want to admit it or not, how much easier it is to live a life that chases popularity rather than courage. Occasionally, we are confronted with stories like the founding of Knox College, where some person or some group of people chose the unpopular but morally courageous path. And we laud those stories as noble oddities, to be celebrated as something righteous but rare. Here's the problem with that perspective. When we lionize a virtue like bravery, when we treat it like the exception rather than the expectation, when courage is awed rather than assumed, then we build a world where the default is cowardice. When we do the opposite, when we build a community like the one right here, where from the very start, 188 years ago, you made a stiff steel spine of courage the cornerstone of your campus, well, then something truly great is possible. I know that the story of Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas's very famous fifth debate on the grounds we stand on today has been told 1,000 times from this very podium. And I'm not going to tell it again. But I am going to offer a perspective that perhaps casts a new light on the inheritance this diploma confers upon you today. In the 2 weeks before the fourth Lincoln-Douglas debate at Charleston and the fifth at Galesburg, Lincoln gave speeches in Danville, Urbana, Jacksonville, Winchester, Pittsfield, Metamora, Pekin, and Sullivan. Trust me, as a candidate, even in the modern era with planes and automobiles, that's a lot. The president of Illinois College would later claim that he said to Lincoln during this period, "You must be having a weary time." And Lincoln responded, "I am. And if it were not for one thing, I would retire from the contest. I know that if Mr. Douglas's doctrine prevails, it will not be 15 years before Illinois itself will be a slave state. Lincoln was exhausted by the time he got here to Galesburg. The crowds at the previous debates had all favored the more popular Douglas. Storms the day before had turned the weather cold and windy here. It would have been the most understandable thing in the world if he found his spirits sagging that day. I think about the doubt he must have carried in his heart. I think about the fact that he showed up anyway. And I think about what must it have been like for Abraham Lincoln, worn and world-weary, to step through the window of Old Main, look out on this campus, and see almost 20,000 people cheering him on under a banner that read, "Abe Lincoln, the champion of freedom." What courage did this community inspire in him? What fear did your predecessors have him leave behind? Only Lincoln himself has the answers to those questions, but I don't think it was a coincidence that it was here at Knox College that our 16th president made the moral case for the opposition to slavery for the very first time. Knox College expected Abraham Lincoln to be brave, and so he was. And that is the legacy that you take out into the world today. To be in public office right now, is to constantly ask yourself, how do I make sure I'm standing on the right side of history? There is a simple answer. The wrong side of history will always tell you to be afraid. The right side of history will always expect you to be brave. Expect bravery of the community around you, and bravery will show up. Expect fear, and fear will rule the day. So, graduates, I expect you to be brave. I expect you to go out into this world with courage. I expect you to be true to the legacy of the very earth beneath you today. I expect you to expect the same of the people who would endeavor to lead this country. Thank you, and congratulations, graduates.